G'day there, Ray Corcoran here. In this video, we're going to be talking about Facebook audiences and how can you use them to get more leads and sales a lot easier. What I typically find with people is, everybody knows that Facebook ads are a really good opportunity to get more leads and sales in your business. But then they go into the ads manager and there's a million different options. There's so many different things you can do. They get overwhelmed and they either A, just run a really basic campaign and fail, or B, they just close the window and don't bother with it. Now, in this specific video, I'd love to talk about some ways that you can target using a variety of Facebook audiences and how to use that to improve the results that you get, because the targeting capabilities within Facebook and specifically the ads manager are amazing. So I'm going to explain them in simple terms. If you're already experienced marketer with Facebook, this will be very boring and you probably don't need to watch it. But if you're sort of starting to either, if you're beginner or a little bit beyond beginner and you're starting to do Facebook ads and you'd like to do them well and do them profitably, then it might interest you to watch the rest of this video. So there's two types of traffic really. The first is warm traffic. So warm traffic is basically people that know you. So you've got some sort of relationship, they've heard of you before, you're not just some random. And the second type of traffic obviously is cold traffic. So they're people that don't know you just yet. So they've never heard of you, don't know you from a bar of soap, and they're obviously a little bit harder to convince to buy things because they've never heard of you and they've got not much info or any info about you. So it's very hard for them to fork over money straight away or sign up for things in some cases. So aside from separating it like that, so there's a few different ways we can target audiences on Facebook. And the important distinction is you've got, not everybody, most people have a very limited budget when it comes to ads. So we need to be quite selective with who we're targeting with these ads. So if you are going after, cold traffic, and we all do at some point, but if you're constantly just using, interests and targeting people like that, what you'll find is that it's generally a little bit more expensive and can be a little bit slower to get results. So if you do that all the time, it can make things a little bit harder. And if you've already got people that already know about you and have heard of you before, available to you, and we'll talk more about that in a second, then we should probably target them first, because people that already know you somewhat are going to be generally easier to sell and get them to opt in as a lead or anything like that, or sign up to your newsletter or whatever we're trying to get them to do. So Facebook audiences are broken down into three main categories. So the first is a custom audience, or a CA. The second is a lookalike audience, also known as an LAL. I don't know why it's LAL, it doesn't really make sense. If anything, it would be Lala, but I don't make the rules, that's just what people call it. And the third one is a saved audience, or an SA. People don't use that very often, but that's that. So let's go through them one by one, and we'll talk about how you can use them to target the right kinds of people easier. So the first is custom audiences. So when you go into Facebook and you go into the ads manager, you can go to create, you go to the section called audiences. You just go to the main menu and then audiences, and then you can go to create, and you'll get an option to either create a custom, lookalike, or saved audience. So this is the first one, which is custom audiences, and this is a really cool one. So basically when you click it, it'll give you these options on the left-hand side. So you'll be able to create, and an audience is just a group of people. So a group of people that have something in common. So we'll talk about each of those soon. So for custom audiences, you've got, the first option is customer file. So you can upload your email list, which is a very, very good idea, to Facebook, and then Facebook will try and match as many of those email addresses to active users on Facebook if they happen to use the same email. And generally you'll find, 50 to 60% will match with Facebook. And so, if you've got 1,000 emails, you might have 50 or 500 or 600 of those people match over to Facebook. Sometimes it can be much less, sometimes it can be much more. So that's that. Second is website traffic, which is another really, really good one. If you haven't got your Facebook pixel code on the head section of your website, then I'd recommend you do that. Speak to your web designer if you don't know how to do that. Do it now, like literally after this video if you haven't already. Don't worry if you don't know how to. It's very easy for people that know what they're doing, but make sure you do it, because that means Facebook can start creating groups of users on Facebook who have visited parts of your website if they have. So very, very powerful. We can target people that have either visited any page on your site, or they've visited a certain product page, or they've visited a certain section, a certain category page perhaps. And obviously by doing that, we can start to run really, really relevant ads. And this is the whole point of this, is the higher the relevance, the higher the action taking. So if we're doing really, really targeted ads, and we're targeting ads to people that have visited the shoe section on your website, and you're showing them more shoes, just like the ones that are on that page, there's a very high chance that people would be interested in that offer. So that's a really great place to start. Next one is app activity. I don't have an app, you might not either, but basically anyone that's done certain things in your app, we can target people based on that. And the final one is a really cool one, which is relatively new, something like a couple months old, and that is engagement on Facebook. So we can basically create little subgroups on Facebook, or audiences that have watched a certain percentage of one of your videos. So say you do a video on back pain, we can run ads to people that watched more than 25% or 50% of that video, which are a really good candidate to run and maybe an offer related to back pain, whether it's a free consult or a discounted first consult or something like that. So that's a really, really good one. And a lot of these things you could never do on any other platform prior to Facebook coming along and doing it. So it's a very exciting time for any marketer, advertiser, business owner to start doing really precise advertising. Like it allows you to do quite razor sharp precision on who you're showing it to. So you're not paying for unnecessary, you're not wasting your ad budget on people that aren't a good candidate. So it's very, very cool. In terms of website traffic, on the right here is just some examples that I use. In terms of, I use these personally, and I get my clients to do them when we work on the Facebook ad side of things. And these are the main groups I would recommend using. So you don't have to use all of them. I like to break it down into 1 day, 7 days, 14, 30, 60, 90, 180. It's probably a bit of overkill to have that many, but I like to just have them broken down, because once you create them, you don't have to create them again. So you can literally just copy that exactly. If you've already got the pixel on your website, you can create those subgroups. And it's just nice to have there, nice and available. This one here is a email list. So I uploaded my email list, and that is just a group of people on Facebook. It's matched a high percentage of them, which is great. And yeah, I can run ads to people on my email list. So if I've got people that are on my list but haven't liked me on Facebook, I can run ads to them telling them about that. So it's very cool. And engagement, haven't done any ads on that recently, have done them before, and have found them really, really good. Like a lot of people right now are doing stuff like promoting a video or a blog on a certain topic, and pumping that out to people, especially video, because you get a lot of reach relatively cheap. And then the people that engage with it the most, those people we run a specific offer to, rather than running the offer to everybody and paying probably a lot more than you need to. So that's a very cool feature. And if you're wondering, this is what happens if you click on engagement. So if you just go back, if I click on engagement, it'll go through and it'll give me a number of sub options as well. So if I want to create a group of people that engage with a video or a lead ad that I've ran, or a canvas ad, or just general things on my page, then I can select that there. So very, very cool. The next one is lookalike audiences. So the short version is Facebook has shitloads of data points on every single user. Not only their own data, which is already very substantial, but they also have major partnerships with pretty much all the biggest data providers across the world, like all those big research firms and all that sort of stuff. And they basically share all the data So they have one of the most sophisticated data sets literally in human history, which is very cool because you can use that data for only a few dollars a day, which is why it's so exciting. But what that means for your ads is that they have so many data points on every single user. And basically what that means is if you provide them a group, so some of the previous audiences that we see here, if you create, any of these groups, say like website visitors or your email list or whatever it is, we can go and create a respective lookalike audience for each of those groups. So generally what you would do is you would create, and you can only create them for one country or region, and create that separately. But basically, you go to source and you can pick any existing audience that you've created, and then pick, if you mainly trade in Australia or the United States or wherever it is, you pick the country there, and you can do multiple. So if you click on show advanced options, it'll allow you to create multiple audiences at one time. And then you can pick the audience size. So generally you can use others, but I would just generally use 1% in most cases for the time being if you're just starting with this. And that just means, if I put in a source, my email list, and I go, hey, I want you to find more users on Facebook that have similar characteristics in Australia that are very highly matched, to the top 1% of people that match the strongest to my existing source custom audience, and create that group, and then it'll say create, and then you can make that, and it'll might take 5 minutes or half an hour to go and find those people and create the audience. But after that, it can create a subgroup of people that have very, very strong similar characteristics, behaviors, mannerisms, all that sort of stuff to the people that you've already been attracting. So it's, as you can imagine, that's really, really useful. Sometimes lookalike audiences can be awesome. Sometimes they can be crap. Generally, the better your data is, the better their lookalike will be. So if you've got a list of 100 people and you try and make a lookalike audience, it may not be as good as you'd like it to be. If you've got a list of 10,000 people and you put this in, they'll be able to match it quite well because they've got obviously more data points to go off. And the third and final one is saved audiences. So this is not so much a warm audience, but it's another audience that you can create in terms of you can pick certain, custom criteria. I want to I want to create because an audience again is just a group of people that have whatever in common. You can create a group of people in Australia that are 20 to 40, that are men, that speak English, that like cats, for example. And you can name it cat lovers 20 to 40 male Australia or something. Just make it descriptive so you can easily identify it. But what that will allow you to do is obviously create very specific subsections to whatever settings you choose. So you basically create all of these audiences before you run your campaign. So you have these preset groups that you can target at your will. So it's very, very useful to do. So just to wrap up on those audiences, so you've got, just again, first is the custom audiences. Like in my personal recommendations is really make sure you get the Facebook pixel on your website, start capturing some of those website visitors. And second would be the email list. Like download your email list now and upload that to Facebook. There's just Google tutorials on how to do that, or ask me, I'll help you. Obviously your customer list. So email list and customer list are obviously different. You would want to separate customers and just subscribers, non-customers, because they have naturally different characteristics, and you don't want to blend them. So if your email list has customers within that, you'd want to separate it out, or pay a VA or whatever to separate those out. So you have a list of purely customers and a list of leads that aren't customers yet, because by doing that, we can create a lookalike audience for those customers and find more people on Facebook that most closely match your current paying customers, which are the best kind of people you can find. So that's really exciting. Another thing you can do is obviously export your LinkedIn connections if relevant. Like if you're B2B and you've got a bunch of potential customers on your LinkedIn, and hopefully you do, and if you don't, you probably should. You can download your LinkedIn list, delete all the people maybe from past jobs or a past life where they're not really relevant to your business, and upload that list to Facebook and run ads to those people as well. It's pretty sneaky, and it's a good way to reach people if you're going after those types of people. Then obviously engage with content is a good one. I would start with the first two and then create lookalikes off that. And then maybe jump into saved audiences later. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a rundown of how the different audiences work and how you can use them to target more specifically on Facebook. And if you're running just general campaigns at the moment, I'd really encourage you to start running ads to past website visitors, your existing email list. If they haven't bought yet, how can we make them buy? And even to past customers, because if we can, if you're in the type of business that you have repeat customers. It's not like a house that you sell once every blue moon. If you're selling stuff to people potentially ongoing, then they're a great place to start in terms of selling again. So something to think about. Hope you found that useful. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Or even if you liked it, let me know in the comments, and share it with anybody else that you think would find this valuable, that's in business, that's maybe struggling with their Facebook ads. And hope you have a great day. Cheers.